G'day and welcome to episode number 3 of Tomo's Tune-Ups in preparation for the Rylstone Classic happening tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at the Mingara Sport and Recreation Centre. So this episode is going to be really short. We're just going to go through a couple of spare parts that I carry with me pretty much every single time I drive my Classic Mini. So first one is spare oil. It's always good to have spare oil in the car because, as we know, owning Classic Minis, they do leak like a sieve, and it's always good to carry a little bit extra just in case you need to top it up. Next thing is some brake fluid. .4 brake fluid is the way to go in your Classic Mini. Always best to double check it before you go anywhere on a lengthy drive, but it's also good to have some just in case your brakes start to overheat and you need to re-bleed them. Next one is not a bottle of green Coca-Cola, but it is coolant. This is concentrated coolant. I do have 5 litres of pre-mixed coolant in my car, plus a couple extra bottles just in case we need to top it up, or worst case scenario, we have a blowout, we need to fix it. So I'm not just topping it up with water. Every Classic Mini owner needs to get themselves an extra belt. Belts are cheap, they're affordable, they do their job, they are super easy to change, and the last thing you want is for your engine to overheat because your fan belt is broken. So given the fact that you can do this on the side of the road in about 20 to 30 minutes depending how efficient you are or how much of a prick it's going to be, it is super efficient to be able to make sure that you've got this in your car. So just get one of those, keep it in the boot with you. Now, as most of you know, yes, I am into health and fitness. That's not what this is. But in my car, I do run ignition points. I do like the fact of being able to adjust things, change things. So I do carry a spare condenser as well as a set of ignition points. The benefit you get of using points over electronic ignition is that if it goes wrong, you can rectify it on the side of the road. Generally, over time, they do tend to burn out, so you can adjust them as you go and clean them up as well. So must be in this one. And it is also part of the service schedule as well to make sure that you adjust them. So adjusting the points gap between there. So this is what creates, it collapses a magnetic field inside the coil, which then generates a spark, which then makes your engine go bang. So servicing these on a regular basis is really important. So making sure that the clearance is right, and I have done a video on how to adjust the points before, so you can check that out on my channel. I keep them in this little box, or a little container I guess, just to keep them safe. That way I know where they are. They're not just floating around in my car at any one time. Next thing, just a bag of assorted parts. So there is a couple of carburetor rebuild kits in there. There's some jets, there's gaskets, pretty much just anything. Just sometimes you're stuck somewhere, sometimes you might find you're going around a corner too fast, the needle and seats is flooding because it's not sealing. It might be that the float is damaged or the lever pin. So it's good just to have spares. These are everything I think from 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 inch SU, maybe even 1 3/4. I don't think it's that big, but there's most stuff available on there, or in this kit anyway. A lot of this is just random parts. So I've got like relief valve springs. I've got some spare fuses inside here, a couple of globes. Really good tip to have if you've already done the modification and you've gotten rid of the little bypass hose between the cylinder head and the water pump. Perfect. If not, carry one of those with you. That's the concertina types that will squash in on itself. You can get a Kevlar hose. They are really fiddly to do if you've got the cylinder head on, but it is worthwhile having. Fuses are really good as well to have. It's always good to have more than it is to have any less. Of all different sizes. So generally you need like a 30 amp, but that'll pretty much do everything. That's just, yeah, a little bag of assorted goodies. And then in the rest, I think there's a couple of switches in here as well. So like a headlight switch, washer switch. That way if you get stuck and you can't use your wipers, at least you can throw another switch in and just double check it. So these were the original ones I think that came off my car. I did replace them and they are still good, so it's always good to have a couple of spares of those. Moving right along, yeah, just more assorted bits. So there's a couple of nuts in here. There's an oil cap. There's some rubber grommets. There's a couple of seals. Just real niche parts, really, just to take. I don't use a lot of these. These are just spares that I've acquired over the years. But yeah, as I said, just keep them in your car. It doesn't take much room behind one of the back seats in the little quarter panel pockets. It is good to just keep them in there. Got a couple of seals. So we have wheel bearing seals and a rear main seal. So for those of you out there who know what that is, great. And for those of you who don't, that is a Metro rear main seal. It goes behind the primary gear. They are the upgraded seal. So if you're ever going to be replacing that in the transfer case between the engine and the clutch, this is the type of seal you want to be using. And you can buy a special tool to install those as well. That way you don't pinch the lip of it when you're putting it in. So, you know, just in case you need to pull it apart, I'd highly doubt it, but you know, it's always good to have spares. Some SU dashport oil. I did see someone used some differential oil the other day in a SU carburetor. I saw it on a Facebook page the other day. So you can just use automatic transmission fluid. That is specialty SU carburetor stuff. I think they're like 20 or 30 bucks. So you only need a little bit, as most of us know. They're a really easy thing to change as well. Just pull it out, drain it, fill it up, away you go. You don't need much. So there's no point buying litres of it. I do like to carry an assortment as well of Crimp Terminals. It is looking a bit bare at the moment. There is everything from eyelet terminals all the way through to spade terminals, normal Chinese finger trap ones. They're really good. Just depends on what you want. Razor blade in there as well, a couple of odds and ends in there. It's not a necessity, but I haven't properly finished my Mini, and I do really need to get back onto finishing it properly. So a lot of this kit does come in handy on the stuff that does start to play up that I have missed over time. I can get onto fixing it if it does decide to play up. This is very left field. I do have 2 spare wheel bearings for the front of the car in case I ever do need to replace them. I think I ordered them when I did a set of drums or a wheel cylinder, so I do have a spare set because I didn't do the other side because I didn't need it, but it's always good to have. So with that as well, I do have some wheel bearing grease that I take with me as well, just in case. You never know, you might need a bit of grease for something. If you don't have some WD-40, which is another thing. I do have the limited edition, about 1,000 cans of the WD-40 of the Mighty Car Mod stuff, so I do have a bottle of that in there as well. That's really good. It's got like 1 trillion uses, so always good to have some of that in the car. One of the last things is just some vacuum hose. It could just be for a washer jet. You might need to do a relocation. You might have a fuel leak or a vapor leak, should I say, between the tank and the engine. You might need to run a bit of hose. That is silicone hose. It is rated for fuel as well. So it's good to not so much run fuel through there, but run some vacuum hose on it for the fuel system, especially for breathers. So like we saw on the Morris 850, this stuff I ran from the tank all the way to the engine to stop my garage smelling like fuel. And last but not least, one of the most essential things is a head gasket. It does seem like a lot of overkill, but given the fact that I broke down on my wedding day and I've blown 2 head gaskets in 4 years of owning my Mini, I do keep a spare one of these in the car. You can get these quite cheap. They're literally like 30 bucks for a VRS kit. And this will do everything from the 850, 998 and the 1098. And I do have with me as well available a 1275 one. So if something happens tomorrow or Sunday and you're having a bit of dramas, you're more than welcome to come see me, hit me up, flash me, do whatever you got to do. I do have a heap of spare parts. I've also got spark plugs as well, I'm pretty sure. If not, they're over there. But yeah, a head gasket is something you can change on the side of the road. You just need to be aware that you don't want any coolant contamination in the oil, so it might be worthwhile draining the coolant, running just water, pulling the head off, putting it back on. And as you saw in the previous episode, I do carry a torque wrench with me. In regards to the torque settings, you can always Google it or just take a workshop manual, depending if you have it with you. But everyone's got a smartphone, you can get an answer within 6 seconds of Googling it. So on this topic of head gaskets, I just want to thank Rusted Projects Garage. He actually blew his head gasket up at Kempsey today, and he messaged me. I tried to get him down to my place. I was willing to do a head gasket for him tonight, wrench all night, get it going, but sadly he couldn't make it. So big thank you very much, man. I really appreciate lending me the opportunity, but also helping us out in other ways, which has been really good. So hopefully next year we can catch up properly. But definitely get yourself a head gasket, keep a spare one in the car along with a torque wrench and at least a workshop manual. Just laminate the page that you know all the torque settings and a couple of tools and we should be right. Look, before we go, I'm going to be there obviously tomorrow morning from probably about 9 o'clock at Mingara. If you guys want to come say g'day, by any means come say g'day. If you want to get on film, you want to talk about your car, you want to talk about what you do, you want to talk about any of the projects that I've built, you got questions, anything, come hit me up. More than happy to chat. Yeah, I cannot wait to meet everyone out there and just be a part of it. In saying that though, I do have some new Tomo's Tune-Up stickers. So we do have the new white and the new black edition. So those I'll be handing out tomorrow. So if you don't get one, come see me. You're more than welcome to grab as many as you like. I think there's a couple of hundred there, so we should be all right, but I'll be handing those out during the day as well. Look guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope everyone gets a good night's sleep. We're going to go sink a couple of beers before we head off to bed and then get up bright and early tomorrow to head all up to Mingara. So we'll do a little bit of filming in the morning on the way there, and then start chatting to people, conducting interviews when we get there, have a bit of a talk and a debrief as well as to figure out what we're actually going to be doing for the day. It's going to be super fun. I'm really excited, bringing a couple of mates along with a support vehicle as well. So as I said, if you do get stuck, let me know. You can hit me up if you do need some parts or you need a bit of help with something. We got pretty much everything unless you need to pull your engine out, which I don't really want to do. So as always guys, thanks heaps for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow morning right here on Tomo's Tune-Ups or at Mingara Sport and Recreation Club.